Welcome to the Sugar Show.
YouTube fam, what is up? UFC 257. Absolutely mind-blowing. Let's just start at the co-main event. Michael Chandler makes his UFC debut against Dan Hooker. A tough fight for Chandler, and he even acknowledged it. He said, yeah, it's probably one of the tougher fights in the division for me, with Hooker being like 8 feet tall, and I'm like 5 feet tall. He went in there. The walkout was just pumped to be there. You could tell he had, he was healthy. He was ready to go. Got in the cage, jumping around, fucking just feeling it. Just feeling himself, feeling good. He gets in there. He's backing Hooker down cautiously. Even if you go into throw a bomb right hand, a good counter to a fucking bomb right hand, a knee up the middle. And that's what he's looking out for the whole time. Did good, do a little misdirection, threw a 2 to the body. Boom! I don't know if you can see me on a stand up, but threw a 2 to the body. He kind of squared up his feet with a bomb left hook right on Hooker's chin, landed beautifully. That's fighting. That's fucking fighting. Those guys fight 10 times. Each time could be, it's going to be different when, you know what I mean? It's a tough fight. Chandler, I'm excited. Who's next for Chandler? Who's next for Chandler? Does he fight Dustin Poirier? Dustin Poirier said, bro, I've had like 600 fights in the UFC. I'm not fighting this dude for a title fight. He's had one fight. I get it. But also, it's a sweet fight. Chandler versus Poirier. Chandler versus Gaethje. Chandler versus Oliveira. Chandler versus Khabib. Something I think would be interesting more so than anyone versus Khabib at this point. If I had to pick one person to fight Khabib, it would be Chandler. I feel like Charles Oliveira, Khabib would maul him. But we'll see. And then we get to the main event, which was, these fights, I streamed them on Twitch, did a little watch along with UFC on their Twitch page. I was live on mine. At one point, there's 40,000 people watching. And I'm high, and I'm like, shit, I ain't never commentated the fights before. I didn't realize we were commentating. I thought we were watching around just bullshitting. But I ended up not saying much. Jens Pulver did a good job. Vis did a good job. They did a good job talking. But commentating fights is a skill, man. I think when I did chime in, I had some good things to say. But for the most part, I didn't talk too much. I didn't say too much. Commentating is something I think it's a skill you can get better at. But I feel like I did all right. I didn't do bad, didn't do great. But it was fun. Hung out with them. But anyway, yeah. So I was watching the fights, and Conor comes out. Dustin comes out. Conor looked sharp. Conor looked really good. Both southpaws. Conor was throwing his 2, and then he was throwing like a shuffle jab. And that shuffle jab landed a couple times. He was throwing a nice boom, boom. Conor looked sharp early, looked real sharp. Dustin was throwing those low leg calf kicks. And in the post-fight conference, Conor said he's never been hit with those, which is super weird if you're at that level and you've never been hit with those hard low calf kicks. I've been hit with those. I remember 4 years ago, John Moraga was kicking me in the calf, and I was like, what the fuck? Because usually you get kicked in the thigh up top, and it's like, ow, that hurts, but I can move around. You get kicked low in the leg, in that calf, and it fucks your leg up. I know what you guys are thinking. That's what happened to you. It's not. Cheeto kicked me in a nerve. I don't want to talk about it. No, I'm sure. But, yeah, those low leg calf kicks, Conor said he's never been hit with them, which was super weird. Super good game plan from Poirier. Beautiful performance. He's just like the Hooker and Chandler fight. That fight happened. They're 1-1. That fight, they can fight again. Conor could win early. I think anytime it goes out of the, I was in the second round, but anytime it goes out of the third, for whatever reason, Conor looked a little tired, man. I think it's because he throws 100% on every one of his shots. He's boom, boom, boom. Whereas Max Holloway, they just have different styles. Max Holloway, boom, 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 throwing maybe 70-80% power, boom, boom, boom. For some of the shots he's big and hard, but for the most part he's throwing 4-piece combos, boom, 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 boom. That's not as tiring as trying to knock someone's head off every punch, boom, boom. And Conor's just looked a little bit tired. Not to say gassed, but the low leg kicks definitely hurt him bad. The punches to the chin are ultimately what did him in. Conor took the defeat like he always does, like a champ. Back to the drawing boards for him. I think we will. One thing he did say that I didn't agree with is the inactivity. I don't think that's why he lost that fight. It wasn't inactivity. He looked good. He looked sharp. He looked focused. He was in there with a killer, with Dustin Poirier, with the number 2 ranked guy, 1 ranked, whatever he is in the world. I don't think it was an activity. It was You know, it was just when I didn't fight for over 2 years. It was like 2 years and 4 days when I fought Jose Quinones. I know I'm fighting a different level opponent. Jose's not as good as Dustin, but I didn't feel like I lost anything. I didn't feel like I hadn't been in there in a while. But everyone's different. What's next for Poirier? He doesn't want that Chandler fight. Will that be the fight they make? I don't know. I'd watch it. I think it'd be an interesting fight. Poirier versus Oliveira, maybe. I don't know. It's tough to say. Poirier versus Khabib is not happening. There's no way that can happen. It's just not. I just don't think that's gonna happen. And what's next for McGregor? What's next for Conor? Does he get Tony Ferguson? That's an interesting matchup. Charles Oliveira, interesting matchup. Gaethje, interesting matchup. Chandler, interesting matchup. I mean, there's a lot of it. Hooker. McGregor has, you know, anytime McGregor fights, it's insane. It's huge. You got to have that opposite to pull in the numbers. Poirier was that guy. Poirier had a lot of sweet highlights, a lot of sweet fights going into that fight. A lot of recognition. Overall, the fight card, well, it doesn't even matter. Those two fights were so sweet, such sweet fights. It was a good night. UFC 257 was a success for the UFC. The fans were there. It was 2,000 fans. That was badass. I wouldn't mind getting a fight in Abu Dhabi at this point. I would like to get the fight anywhere. If they said, hey, you want to fight in fucking the backyard or something, I'd say, yeah, at this point, man. So, yeah, good night of fights. Who's next for Conor? Who's next for Dustin? Who's next for Chandler? Who's next for Hooker? Let me know about what you guys think in the comments. Like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitch, Sean O'Malley UFC.